Hey guys, and welcome to the second episode in my series of Boombot rollouts for Valorant. Today I'll be showing you some of the best locations to aim your Boombot to get it in the right locations off spawn for the map Ascent. I will be going through the different maps. Obviously today we're focusing on Ascent, and I have previously done one on Bind, episode 1, so do check that out if you haven't already. But yeah, let's get this going. Alright guys, so for this far left choke, in between A lobby and A site for the defenders, I usually satchel up to these sort of crates. They're not really crates, but usually satchel up here, and it gives you good height on the enemies, and often they don't expect you to actually be here because they're too busy focusing on door or heaven, so you could be able to get a couple picks. But for here, what you want to do is you want to line yourself up here and then aim at this third right here. You can aim just like at the middle of the third. And what the bomb buddy will do is it'll go ricochet off those and all the way through here. So that'll pretty much clear this whole area, and that way you'll be able to know if there are any enemies here. That it's going to be really hard for them to hide. I'm sure they could probably do it, but you know there's not going to be a whole team, so you can easily rotate if necessary. Right, and if you want to check this back corner here of the map, you can line yourself up with this front satchel and aim for this middle column right here. And then what that'll do is that'll just ricochet off and check this sort of back corner area, especially when there are people like here. So you can check that area. With this and most other sort of bouncing off, just be wary. With this, it's sort of split into thirds here, and then this being a half. So if you're, say, here and you want to bounce it that way, you want to be aiming for the halfway. But if you're like here and you want to be aiming it through there, what you can do is you can aim towards more of the third, and then it should reflect off this and head that way. So you can sort of apply this sort of mentality to a lot of things. I'm sure a lot of like good players have already sort of understood this naturally. But yeah, just in case you haven't, just sort of keep that in mind. It's really good to just be thinking of like how you can reflect your Boombot, but don't overthink it, because you want to be, you know, keep moving and keep it fast paced. So if you're in this corner and say you're wanting to open or close this door near the start of a round, what you can just do is stand here, aim for the middle, and the Boombot will just head towards this way. It won't go through there, but it will sort of clear out this area decently. Alright, so moving on, we have this little mid cubby in between a tree and mid catwalk. For here, I wouldn't really recommend using it, as most enemies are either going to be across there where you can't really get your Boombot without getting shot, or up here where they're going to have heaps of distance to actually shoot your Boombot. But nevertheless, if you're like say camping here, you can just reflect off this wall sort of halfway. It gets a bit tricky because of this tree thing, but if you just sort of stand a bit further back, reflect it halfway, then it'll, you know, rebound, do its thing. Also for here, if you're in this corner and holding this position, one thing you can do is in between here with the big stone, the two small ones, aim in the middle of those three, and it should reflect, yeah, straight up here and then onto mid. So if they're super close and in this area and you're holding this point, you can bounce that and then go for peaks and stuff like that. Alright, so the third choke for Ascent would be this middle part called middle bottom heading into mid courtyard. For here, I definitely wouldn't recommend using it. You can if you want to, but it's sort of a big open area and it's not going to do much damage or really see people and stuff like that. So if there's anyone there, there's no use using this. You might as well like throw your grenade and use other abilities. If you are here though, one thing you can just sort of aim towards is the door. If you're rushing through here, one thing you can do is either use that door to reflect, or just reflect it on here if you want to go towards more tightly in there. So if you do want to shoot your Boombot up here, you can actually blast pack jump your Boombot and get it up over there, but it does take a tiny bit of practice, not too much, but you can easily stuff it up. But yeah, I wouldn't recommend doing that, but that is something you could do possibly. Okay, so for this last choke, which is this little B main onto B site with this corridor, there are a few different positions that people like to hold. If you're here, it's going to be a bit hard to sort of ricochet that way without, you know, peeking it yourself. So I wouldn't recommend too much unless you want to just reflect it off that wall and towards back here, like that. But there is one way. So if you're at the start and the wall's still up, you can go into this corner here and aim for the little circle on that square plate there. If you do that, then it's got a pretty good path. It just goes through and all the way through out here, which is pretty good. Another position that you might hold is in here in this doorway. For here, I couldn't really find any good spots, so I just recommend bouncing it off this door. It is a bit tricky though because of here, but it should send it pretty much in the right direction, so you can tell if there are any enemies in here or not. For up here, I tried a heap. I was looking for a bunch of different locations for if you're holding, sort of mark it towards mid. So what I would recommend is if you do want to hold that sort of position, that at the start of the round, you do this one and then quickly move up and you can have that position. And yeah, so that is all the different defenders locations I have for you today. Now let's move on to the attackers. Alright, so for this first sort of choke on the far left side here, we're at B lobby heading through B main to B site. What you can do is sort of head in sort of this area and towards the paper and aim towards these eyes of the lobster. And what that'll do is it'll just bounce it this way. I was trying to get a bunch of different ones that sort of bounced into point, but I couldn't really find any good locations for you guys to sort of go off spawn. One way I did find though was if you go in this corner. So obviously this isn't really start because the wall will have to come down and then you move into this position. But if you go here and then go in between these two orange bricks right there, or sort of orange faded, it will head straight through. So that is really a better one than the other one, but it depends if you want to sort of peek that, because an enemy could already, you know, come all the way up and catch you off guard if you're too slow. But yeah, I would just recommend if you can like clear out, so make sure there's no enemies here, you can just sort of basic ricochet off there. Quite often what I'll do is I'll throw my grenade at market, and that way that'll clear it out, and then I can close that door. And then in the meantime, if you want to, you could also like sort of try and ricochet your Boombot into this little workshop, just like that. But yeah, it's all just sort of basic projectiles off walls. If you can do that, just work out your angles. Yeah. Alright, and so for this next choke, which is this middle part going from mid-link to courtyard, again, this is one of the spots in this middle area. I definitely wouldn't recommend using this because people are just going to shoot you. It's from a long distance. You can sort of either throw it like that or come close and throw it like that, just in case you want to check if there's any enemies behind here or here. But yeah, like I'd say, I wouldn't recommend using it in that circumstance. The same goes for up here when you're at mid top. Most people go here with snipers or, you know, maybe like an AK or something like that, and so there's just not much you can do with it. You can roll it off here, and I'm pretty sure that you can stand up to it and just throw it over. It throws it a bit of distance, so you can stand back a bit and it'll make it. But yeah, that's sort of something you could use here. If you're like rotating through to A, you can throw this out like that and sort of stop that area, or even there while you're moving through. For here, I guess you could use it like to check if there's anyone here or there, but it's all just sort of basic angles off walls, nothing too special. Alright guys, and for this final one, going from A lobby to A site, I used to have one right here that was sort of on this doggy bowl and off to here, but because they added this crate, it sort of hits it off to the side, and it actually means that it won't go in that corridor. So I guess the basic one you could do is you got to make sure that if you're solo, that you don't get peeked while you're throwing this, because there is a bit of delay from when you throw it to when you can pull your weapon, and you can get killed. So if you're with your team, you got to make sure that someone's sort of holding that, just in case an enemy does peek. But the same thing goes as earlier. If you aim for this third column, if you're like relatively at a good angle, then it will bounce off this wall as well and head towards this direction. For the Boombot, it will pick up people on different levels. I haven't tested for up here, but for here it definitely will. Problem is it just won't go off, but it will make the sound that it has detected an enemy. But yeah, and the same thing goes if you want to go the other way. You just aim for that middle column and it'll bounce back this way. Alright, I hope you guys learned something and can use one of these rollouts in your own games. I know most of these I try and use in my own games, and they actually really help for detecting enemies and working out whether I should stay or rotate early to help my team on the other side. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll catch you all in the next video. See ya.